Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here with my friend, author, speaker, CEO of Impact Group, Lauren Herring. How are you doing, Lauren?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Ben.
Oh, it's great to have you back on the show.
Glad
Lauren's
to
been
be
a friend
back.
of the show. Yeah, it's so good to have you here. Always love hearing your perspectives. I've heard you speak at NTRP. Read some of your books. I think you had at least two books now out, right?
Yeah, thanks for having me on to promote my book back in 2020 on job search.
Yeah, and
My
that
first
that
book though,
actually,
was on relocation, so very much loving being back and promoting, just focusing on well-being in the relocation industry.
I actually think that your book on job search actually might have triggered the Great Resignation. Is that true?
Yes, it's all my fault.
Yeah, it's one of those what do they say, like it's like a snowball effect, right? It was the flapping of the butterfly's wings that caused the anyway. But no, and now we're talking about well-being today. So I want to just real quick welcome everybody to the show. Get in the comments. I want to know who you are, where you are, give your company a shout out, check in. Well-being. I want to talk about well-being. I want to talk about as it pertains to relocation. I want to talk about as it pertains to corporate strategy. I want to know what the heck it is because I don't think I've been doing it. So I need some help here, Lauren. So get in the comments. Let us know, what are you doing for your own well-being? Bonus points if your company is doing something for your well-being. Give them a shout out in there. Amy checking in from St. Louis.
Hey, Amy.
Lauren is such an inspiration in the HR and relo industry. Isn't that nice? Hit that like button. Adam Sotelo, super producer Adam, what's up from behind the scenes? Excited to hear Lauren's insights on the industry. Look at this. You're really bringing them out today, Lauren. Get in the comments. Hit that like button. Bryant Wisdom, love that name, from USA. Good to see you, Ben. Hey, good to see you too, Bryant.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Funny story about USAID. We actually helped with the career transitions for the USAID group forces that were supporting in Iraq. So as we drew down from Iraq and our presence, Impact Group helped with the career coaching for those individuals to help them find jobs globally. So that was
What
an
was
awesome
that
project.
like? Sidebar. What was that like?
Well, I mean, such a powerful project to be able to help people that have been, working exclusively to help the Iraqi people during that time. So I want to say it was, around the 2010 timeframe or thereabouts, something like
Right.
that. And we're helping them because they're NGO workers from all over the world. And we helped a lot of them land in new roles in Africa and, in other parts of the world.
Wow. That's a whole, I mean, that's awesome. That's really cool. I can't even fathom what that job search is like. Talking about your job search, right? I mean, we handle a lot of searches here at Glomo. We do recruitment and that would be a tough one to place for sure. Let's see here. We got Scott Chapman, Chappie checking in. Greetings from Dallas. Love
Hello.
Scott Chapman. Look at that. Hit that like button. Sean Luchin's here from Western Mass. What's up, Sean? How you doing? Look at this. Chris Lagerman, president, WHR Global in the house. USAID is such a fantastic agency. Am I supposed to say USAID? Am I not supposed to say USAID?
I said USAID, but maybe Bryant can give us some coaching on it.
Bryant, please coach us. Let us know. This is great. I'm not above a little feedback here. But yeah, I want to get into well-being. Okay, this is a word that's thrown around a lot, and I'll be honest. I hit 40, Lauren.
Congratulations.
Recently.
Welcome to the club.
I know. I never thought I'd make it. I hit 40 and started going to the doctor, realizing that well-being was not an area that I was really excelling in, right? I wasn't really crushing the well-being category on my personal scorecard. What is well-being? Help us define, what should we be looking at when we consider well-being?
Well, everyone has their own kind of personal twist on it and perspective, but there's a lot of thinking out there that well-being consists of a number of factors: social, emotional, spiritual, financial well-being. So, you can excel in one area and be super strong and healthy from a perhaps social well-being. I imagine you have a very healthy social well-being, and
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
as well. So then so then it's like, but then maybe on financial, hopefully I've heard you've had some great success, hitting some new levels of growth with Glomo. So now you're excelling financially. But that doesn't mean that there aren't other areas if you want to be more well-rounded, because if you're
I'm
high
very round currently.
low in another, then that then there could be some tension. And
Yeah, I see that.
yeah,
I see that. And I think it's especially common with entrepreneurs. I was at an entrepreneurial meeting last night, and we'll get to how this applies to relocation. But this is very true, right? Where great financial, say, well-being, right? But really, like, a lot of stuff happening at home, for instance, right? Or physically not taking care of themselves, right? And that's an easy trap to fall into, and vice versa. You see people who are physically in amazing shape, take great care of themselves, but maybe
yeah,
spiritually or emotionally, or
neglecting some relationships, and so
yeah,
then you can see how that plays out in relocation.
yeah.
So
So
it's a
tell us
time.
about it. How does it play out in relocation?
Yeah, so it's a time of extreme stress. So, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of change. Some people love change, but even people who love change, might hit a threshold when it's coming at you from every angle.
I
So
agree. I want to comment on that just for a second, because I have a theory about this, and
tell me your theory.
it's that people who love change love making change,
Oh, you just nailed it. Yes. But
right?
when change is happening to you,
Nobody loves that. Okay. So I came up with the jet ski analogy. Change is like riding a jet ski. If you're leading change, you're driving the jet ski. If you are being changed, you're holding onto the back of the jet ski
and you
while
might be
somebody
the
else drives.
third person on the back, and you're getting
Oh,
whipped around pretty good.
oh gosh, yeah. No, you don't even want to be the third person's, like, sometimes doesn't make it back to the marina. Let's be honest, right? And that's true in organizations, isn't it? Right? Some people get left behind, right? So that's my jet ski analogy. What do you think about my change jet ski analogy?
The change jet ski is very relevant. And it's one of those things where, especially, leaders, when you're sitting in a conference room imagining change, it sounds exciting. This is where the market's going. Here's what we need to happen. And maybe when you're in the driver's seat of a relocation, hey, this is so great for my career. And there might be some benefits for the family as well, but then maybe the kids, that who's the teenager in her senior year of high school, is feeling like the third person in the jet ski. Or
Yes.
same thing, people, where the rubber meets the road in organizations, the people doing the work, when it just starts piling on, you have to keep on your day to day and learn change and do things a new way. That's where the burnout can happen. And so that, when we're talking about well-being, it affects productivity, it affects engagement.
Right.
The record levels of burnout, then drive the Great Resignation. So again, you add a relocation on top of some of these other dynamics that are going on, and it can be exciting on one level for the employee, but then you're having to deal with new traffic patterns on your way to work, and then you're learning a new job. So that can be challenging. You've got the family dealing with their own aspects. So that's where the whole well-being component falls in with relocation.
Yep.
And organizations are starting to recognize that we're asking a lot from these people. And, it sounds exciting to start a new job, and, it's a great career builder. There's lots of great things about relocation, but it's a very personal experience. While it's a professional builder and it's a part of the job for on it's business on one hand, but for that individual and for their family, it's personal.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna stop there because I want to first of all, we got the audience chiming in here and always leaving amazing comments here. So get in the comments, let us know what you think about managing your well-being through a relocation process. How have you managed your stress, the burnout, the stress on the family? What are your thoughts and ideas around this? I want you to contribute to this conversation. Get in the comments right now and let us know what your thoughts are about this. I want to talk to Lauren about what tips and tricks we can do to help our transferees who are going through these things and what we have to do organizationally. But let's see, we got some people checking in here. Brian, hey Brian, appreciate you. You know, that's a lot of empathy right there. Say whatever you like. You know what? I appreciate that. I feel heard. I feel seen. Thank you. Sean, not cool, making 40 sound old. Sounds like a you problem, Sean. Ray Abbott, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, what's up, Ray? Jody says, I met Lauren at MRC and decided to invest in my own growth and transition. So I used Impact Group on my own. Highly recommend.
And she landed in an awesome new role and is doing amazing things. Way to go, Jody.
Wow.
It was so cool. Yeah, she reached out to me after meeting, and for her, I'm not going to give anything away. But it's what we do. It's not just job search. It's not just job search. It's about how do you take your career to the next level. And so I love doing that kind of work where we can do that leadership coaching and the career coaching too.
We have to talk because there's so many people that we cannot help at Glomo who need new roles. Like if we don't have the role, we can't really help with it, but they need coaching and they need that person to guide them on their journey, because we have to get really good at looking for the next super important step in our career every like 4 or 5 years, let's say.
Yep.
And then we forget and things change and we get rusty and whatever. And it's so emotional too. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Well, and thank you, Jody, for the shout out. Highly, very appreciated.
Yeah, that's awesome here. Scott saying 40 is the new 20. In my case, 51 is the new 20, at least in my mind. Yeah, that's funny, Scott, for sure. Scott definitely takes care of himself there. A lot of well-being there in the Chapman household. Amy says, from a well-being aspect, our company, Vicinity Corporate Housing, new name. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I saw she got what was it, salesperson of the year last year?
Of the year.
Pretty awesome.
Not the day, not the week, not the month, the year. Wow. Amy, it's amazing. Kudos to you. She says they have a Fun Friday benefit. They can take a half day once a month to take time to recharge. How do you use that, Amy? What do you do with your half day? I want to know. What is it that recharges your batteries?
That's
Here, let's
cool.
see. Checking in here. Jody saying, having relocated on purpose and due to a job, many times I always try to have that empathy for employees going through this. So helpful. Danny saying, hey, Lauren and Ben from the Global team watching from Jersey. Super excited about this topic. An organization's approach to well-being is one of the top things that our candidates look for when joining a new organization. Many of our candidates are coming from toxic cultures, and they tell me all the time about how they've gotten physically sick from the environment they were in. Do you see that with Relo? Is that a thing? Physically ill?
Yeah. So this is really interesting. So we did a study recently. The people perspective of relocation is a survey of employees relocating, both who've used our services and who have not. So it's a blend.
Yep.
And the interesting thing of this was that over half, loneliness doubles after the move.
Is that true with married and singles?
Yep. Yeah. So it's across the board. Especially singles, but overall, of the whole population, loneliness doubles. And there's research out there right now about just how critical this loneliness epidemic is in really throughout the world. And obviously we can all opine on different aspects of it, but certainly social media and, some of, the technology aspects plays into it. But relocation, obviously you're moving from an area where you're thriving, hopefully, to an area where you don't have very many connections. And so that loneliness piece plays into people's health. And one of the pieces of research that came back, it was in a Harvard Business Review, was that a physician, reported, based on his experience and his data, that chronic loneliness is as detrimental, if not more, than smoking a pack a day for 20 years.
Wow. I feel like a pack a day is what I'd be doing if I was chronically lonely. So that would be really bad. But no, I get it. They say they compare everything to everything. Cigarettes like the benchmark, by the way. Now they're like sitting's the new cigarettes. It's like, so loneliness, the new cigarettes. You heard it here first. But no, I mean, I get that. I mean, I think that's my one redeeming factor, is that I have a lot of joy and a lot of not loneliness in my life. I think that might be the only thing that keeps me going here now that I'm 40. But yeah, I've seen it.
Now life is over.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it though. When we moved, when my wife and I moved to Raleigh. Raleigh was a really tough one. Raleigh, North Carolina, was a really tough one when we moved from Texas, where we had family, and after she had all her friends in Tampa. And it wasn't so hard for me because I had like instant friend group right at work, right? Yeah. Me and the coworkers. You want to have a beer or something like that. Want to go play golf on the weekends. Want to go play basketball, do whatever, instant friend group. And then she didn't, right? And she had to make friends. And my son was not yet, first was not yet born, but then was not yet school age, because school brings some of that and sports brings some of that and stuff like that. But she really had a tough time. And she started actually using like meetup.com and some stroller strides groups and stuff like that. And it kind of gave her a model for the next time we moved. And each subsequent time it got easier for her. But it was tough. And I think it made us ill physically and emotionally and mentally.
Well, just think about, the level of stress that comes with moving. And, when you're just feeling the weight of that on you day in and day out during the course of the several months while you're preparing to move, you're in the thick of the move, you're unpacking, things are unsettled, you don't have your network to support you. And so, every layer of that onion is one aspect that is where stress is, an indicator of, some of the what's going on with your body as a result of
right.
Some of that physical well-being and how that makes us feel, which then can, of course, translate into, just whether it's sickness or cortisol or whatever.
Yeah, and shout out to the people out there who are lonely due to physical illness, like Richard Majewski, who broke his ankle and now can't go party at his own event tonight in London. So we're with you in our thoughts and our prayers, Richard, out there. Sorry to hear that, buddy, but at least you get to tune in.
Feeling better soon.
Yeah, get elevate that thing. No, you don't want to get the deep vein thrombosis going there. Let's see here. Amy's saying thanks for the kind words here. She's doing volleyball with her time off. She's spending it with her daughter, her club volleyball tournament. Very cool. Very cool. So let's talk a little bit about relocation programs and what companies can do to actually curb some of the burnout that people are feeling during the relocation process, and how can they ensure that well-being is cared for?
Yeah, well, I like to think of it kind of like today's family assistance is not your mother's spouse assistance. So back in the days of trailing spouses, where you're dragging the female spouses by their hair behind you, and the family.
It's like a terrible image. I mean, I hear that though. That is that old stereotypical kind of, oh gosh. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, when I hear the word trailing spouse, that's the image that is in my head, is someone who's being dragged along. So, over the years, we've evolved to my personal preference is talking about accompanying talent.
Yeah.
Of course, we also have used accompanying partners and spouses and partners as well. And at the same time, it's not just about job search anymore. So it used to be when this service, spouse and family services, were first entering in the world of relocation. It was when women were starting to get into the workforce, and how do you help bridge this gap on the career side? And of course, we're still doing that kind of work, but more and more companies now are thinking about this not as spouse assistance, but it's family assistance. And it's referenced that way in their policy now. And so anybody is eligible for it. Singles are eligible for it. Families with dual careers, as well as non-dual career families, where it's a family or maybe it's just a couple. There's even some companies that are offering these kinds of benefits to, hey, bring a friend along. Nowadays with the Gen Z, where if there's the opportunity to provide support so that you have a buddy in the new location and you're not going to be as likely to experience that loneliness. We've even seen companies include buddies or maybe
I'm seeing this.
a parent.
Yes, I'm seeing Gen Z moving with their friend somewhere, like
Yeah, or a parent.
platonic hetero life partner friends. And I'm like, okay, all right, sounds cool.
Yeah.
New adventure. Why not? Let me ask you this though. Have you seen us get to the point where we're actually including kids and support for the kids as part of the policy?
Yeah, so there's a variety of ways that the kids can be supported. So my personal favorite is, how do you equip parents to better support the kids? And in this way, at Impact Group, we actually have taken a lot of the content from my first book, This Side Up, and we've repackaged that in a mini course that we've put into our programs. And that is there's tremendous content there that helps parents with how you can talk with your kids. How can you work with teens? How can you work with toddlers? How does a young mother with an infant who's struggling and juggling, the chaos of, having an infant and moving? And, the funny thing, over the years, I've heard so many stories of, oh, we're going to take this time on assignment and have a baby. And so meanwhile, you have a baby and you don't have a network. You're thousands of miles away from your closest relative. Oftentimes you don't speak the language, and that adds a whole new layer of stress onto those kinds of moves, where, in your head, you're like, oh, it's the perfect time to take a break. But then, speaking of the loneliness and the sense of identity, I spend all day cooped up with a 6-month-old. So anyway, that was a sidebar.
You said something there though. Do people actually think, yo, this assignment would be a really good time to have a baby? Do people really? Is that a ethos that's out there?
I mean, I can't say everyone would say that, but there are people who are thinking, hey, I'm not going to be able to work while I'm on assignment, so it's a perfect time to take that career break.
You know what? Actually, I have heard people talk about this in terms of citizenship, right? Because if you have a child in another country, don't they also get citizenship sometimes when that happens?
Depends on the country.
I guess it always depends.
Certainly in America it works that way, but
that's really interesting. I'm loving this. You know what I'm thinking about right now? I want to get in the comments right now. Hit that like button. Send some love to Lauren out there. You're in St. Louis, right?
Yep.
Send some love to Lauren in the Lou. Okay, I like the alliteration.
Opening day today. Opening day.
Is it opening day?
Opening day for the Cardinals.
That's a big opening day. I was in Detroit, and that was a big opening day. Cincinnati's a big opening day.
We're a baseball town.
Yeah, for real. Hey, Adam, when's Rangers opening day? Anybody Anybody know? Okay, we get a fact, get stats and information on that real quick. But you know what? It made me think about. We have this game we play at home, um, where it's like a little box of cards. It's like those old Trivial Pursuit cards from back. I'm so old. It's like those Trivial Pursuit cards, but it's like a little box of cards, and they're for kids,
Mhm.
and it's a question, and the kid and the my son will read it, he's 7, he'll read it, and it's like, what's your favorite vacation place? It's just like a conversation starter, and we break it out around dinner. It keeps the kids at the table, helps us talk, right? And he
Mhm.
loves to read the cards and quiz his parents on it, right? But I'm wondering, like a card like that, a card box like that for families that are people that are relocating, like, what are you looking forward to most in the new destination?
Mhm.
What are you worried about most? What,
Yeah.
things like that, to get families talking about what they're about to go through
Yeah,
together.
great idea. I mean, we have content and worksheets kind of like that, but I love that idea. I'll send you the royalties, Ben.
Please do. I just want like a dime off of every file. Can I get a dime off every file? I'll retire
Yeah,
early.
and so we've actually totally reimagined our family support along the lines of the whole concept of well-being. It's less of, transactional, hey, how do we help you connect in the new area? And it is that we provide a lot of resources and information and insight. But how do we really dive deeper and support people through that emotional transition so they can be prepared on what they can expect in the new location, so they can work through their emotions, so they can have the right conversations with their partner, with their kids, and so just really making sure people are setting their priorities about the relocation up front. So we take a pretty holistic view of this. I always start with setting your priorities, making sure that we're having great communication between partners, and then how to facilitate good communication with the kids, and then managing stress throughout. So we've decided to think about it like people are thriving in their old location. Hopefully, they move, enter a little chaos. Then you add coaching, and now you're re-thriving. So we've rebranded this offering that we have at Impact Group to be called Rethrive, where we
Rethrive.
want you to be thriving again.
I like that. Rethrive. Because it goes back and acknowledges the fact you were thriving originally. I mean, that's why you're being relocated, right? You don't relocate bums, right? You're relocating great A players, right?
Right.
And then so
Yeah.
they're thriving here, and those people want to be thriving. I mean, they didn't get there by accident. It was a
Yeah.
lot of intentionality that got them to that place where they were performing at a high level and they were thriving, and now they're re-thriving at destination. I want to talk a little bit about the experience. If I'm being relocated, I'm going to ask Lauren a little bit about what would that be like? What would that process feel like? And I want you to describe it to me without giving away maybe too much secret sauce,
The
but
secret
I
sauce.
want I want it. Maybe just give me a little sauce, like a side of sauce, like just give me like a little side of sauce, but not so much like where you would charge me for the side, but like you would give me like a little sample, But before I get into that, I want to acknowledge a couple people checking in. Heather Jameson says, "Hello, Lauren. So nice to see you on here. Ben, you have the best guests."
Oh, well, that's very sweet.
I like it when they compliment
Hi,
both of
Heather.
us at the same time. I'm a fan of those comments. Can y'all just a note for the audience here? Hey, but I got to give a shout out to Adam because Adam's the one that pulls these guest lists together. So shout out to Adam here. Let's see. Jody's saying we moved to Wisconsin right before the pandemic, and being so far from family, then suddenly not being able to travel to even visit was the trigger for moving back in 2022. Met great people, but just needed to be
Yeah.
close to family.
Yeah, I remember she was moving back to DC, I believe, if I recall.
Yes. Yeah, she was in Virginia, I think, area. Amy says, we discussed at MRC about our industry asking some of the unseen questions, allowing the transferees to feel comfortable and open to discussing what they might be going through personally to help during relocation experience. What does she mean by unseen questions?
Well, I mean, think about it when you're starting any conversation. Hey, yeah, you start the conversation. How you doing today? Everyone automatically is just going to say fine, or maybe 80%
Fine,
of the people are going to say fine.
good.
Yeah,
If you're
good.
lucky, you might get if you're lucky, you might get living the dream. My personal least favorite comment, living the dream.
So, one way is, how do you go a level deeper with that? Now, the challenge is you don't know what you're going to open up,
Oof.
because if you then ask an open-ended question and then you get blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
then the question is, what do you do with that?
You go like this, you make one of those faces like this, and you kind of slowly walk away so as not
Yeah.
to be
So I
pursued.
think the question is, first of all, before you ask those, how much time do you have? Like, what are some things that like are you in the middle of? You need to get things done. You need decisions. They need to be moving through. But sometimes maybe they just need to be heard. And so if they let it go, then um, then
Yeah.
just be a listening ear
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah. That's a
I
good
hear
one.
you. That sounds really hard. Is there anything specifically that I can do to make this better, or our service? Obviously with Amy in more of the corporate housing space, if something's gone wrong with the household goods, she's not going to really be able to do anything about it, but she can maybe point you in the right direction. Have you talked to your relocation counselor about that? Or just, man, I'm really sorry. That sounds really hard. Do you have the resources to move this forward to where you need to get it to?
I feel like you should do de-escalation training for suppliers in the relocation industry. How to talk people down from their hair's on fire. This is Richard says, ask me how I'm feeling today. Richard, we don't have that kind of time. We only have 33 minutes left in the show. Amy says, love that philosophy, re-thrive. She's loving that. Adam's saying, here's the link to opening day for the Rangers, but it's all about the Bravos here. Richard, this is interesting. Richard is kind of harking back on a story. He says, we just had a potential guest with an expectant mother was refused access to the UK. She was a Brazilian citizen, I guess, due to the fact that, say, who wants to be a Brit anyway? Oh, Richard.
Wow.
Richard's
Yeah.
on meds.
Well, and I mean, sometimes, dealing with expectant mothers, during the relocation process can be so complicated because you need to get access to an obstetrician right away. You just need to have your resources at hand. And so that's one of the things that a lot of times, speaking of de-escalating, how do we work with expectant parents to make sure they feel confident that they know where to go, what to do, who their resources are. One other thing, I want to go back because you asked about, are there things being done for children?
Yes.
Impact Group, in addition to spouse assistance work, we and family assistance, we also do cross-cultural coaching.
Oh, cool.
And we have started delivering a cross-cultural coaching program for kids, designed for kids. And
Really?
we work,
Cross-cultural training for kids?
yeah, and it's around, thinking about saying goodbye to your old friends, how to meet new friends, and it's in the context of culture, but also focused on it's based on the Third Culture Kids methodology, and we worked with the some of the originators of that concept in the creation of the materials.
I love the cultural training for kids. I think that's really good. I just think I keep going back to the kids because I was moved when I was young, right? I was moved from New York to Texas. I had a culture shock experience. I know it wasn't like China or Brazil or South Africa or whatever, but I had a culture. So I mean, I'm always very sensitive, if you will, to the way kids are. And I think, by the way, I think the issue of kids and their attitudes towards relocation is one of the probably biggest hidden objections and hidden obstacles that we face as a relocation industry. The way that we now prioritize our kids' development their schooling,
There's
their
sports.
athletics. Yes, exactly. Their relationships. I mean,
Yep.
all of that. The number one thing when I talk to people about moving, try to get people to move to Texas, or, oh, my kids, I couldn't. My kids, they
Mhm.
just have the friends that at sports. I mean, they're an AP bio, like, whatever it is, like they have a career path and I can't reload them. And I hear that more and more and more. And there's no way for us to go back in time and take a survey of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I feel like one of those bad radio stations, but you know what I mean, of the attitudes of kids towards relocation, or how much the parents cared, frankly, how the kids' attitudes were towards relocation. But I just feel like that's one of those things we have to address as an industry if we're going to get a little more fluidity in the relocating populations that we do.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing going back to kids relocating is that is at the heart of Impact Group's origin story, which is my mom was a New Jersey family, was part of a New Jersey family as a young girl.
Those
Moved,
Jersey families are very close knit.
yes. So not only that, but my grandfather was was relocated with Merck, so he worked for Merck back in the day. So he was relocated to St. Louis, Missouri. So enter St. Louis, where I live now. They loved St. Louis. It was an amazing transition. It was like the idyllic childhood for my mom. And so then in 1960, she was 12 or 13, and then Merck moved my grandfather to Memphis, Tennessee. So here comes this New Jersey family down to Memphis in 1960, and it was a disaster. My grandmother never acclimated. My mom was called a damn Yankee as
It
a,
was tight. I mean,
as a girl.
1960. I mean, that's the civil rights movement. I
Mhm.
mean, it was tough down
Yeah.
in Memphis. I mean, Dr. King was assassinated in Memphis in
Yeah, still much later.
1963 or
So
something.
it was a hotbed, and they did not fit in. My mom felt like that move was the death of her childhood. So fast forward, when she became a psychologist eventually. So she was in the early days of employee assistance programs. So again, here comes well-being. People are in therapy dealing with crisis. So this is the very early days. Families are referred to her and they're in crisis. She peels back the layers of the onion of their problems as a family and their emotional grief. And oftentimes she was able to see that a relocation was core to some of the challenges.
I don't know if this is a good story or not to tell. It's like,
Well, but here's the thing. She recognized, like, can we be proactive in supporting these families? So I
yeah,
think that we
right.
need to recognize that relocation does cause stress on families, but then it's incumbent on the companies and the network of support to be proactive in preventing these kinds of issues. And so if you can help with the communication, if you can help with the priority setting, if you can help making sure they get into the right area that's going to be a good fit for them and manage culturally, then you're going to have the right tools to be able to weather some of the ups and downs.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
But that's
Yeah,
that's a little bit of the
I love that.
origin story, just
I
of
love that origin story though. So it's
yeah.
like really in your blood, like
Yep.
relo and the support and all that of families is really that's really cool. So I mean, this is really like in your purpose. This is in your. That's really cool. We got some people sharing their stories here. Richard says, likewise, as a kid, we only moved England to Wales, city to countryside, total shock.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, was it more culture or more language, Richard? Which was the more difficult part of that? I heard the Welsh is a little difficult. Let's see here. Bryant saying shipment of breast milk overseas makes a lot of new mothers anxious.
Hmm.
I've heard something about this, but I'm not figuring out
Yeah, there's
how.
there's a lot of new services in the last few years around breast milk shipping. I don't know the details internationally though, so that's really fascinating.
Is breast milk the new pet shipping for our industry? Is it the new hot
Oh,
button?
geez.
You know, is it like the new hot button, like logistics thing, right? Like you see like
Well,
one or
follow
two
the soul
booths at
chain.
ERC. You're like, how many people do that? And you're like,
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
great point. Yeah, I that is one that Bryant probably knows more than I do on that one.
Brian, include a link here in the comments here. Brian says breast milk has to be checked and not as a carry
On.
out.
Carry on.
Carry out? Brian, we're not getting hamburgers here, Brian. What are we talking about? Anyway, I'm just kidding. All right. So walk me through the process, right? So, okay, my family's about to relocate. You know, is Impact Group selected and provided to me by my employer,
Yeah.
or is it something I go out and I, procure on my own, like kind of like Jody did? Which is the more common scenario?
Yeah. In our industry, organizations have done the work where we either have a
Right.
corporate relationship with the client or we're going through an RMC,
Yeah.
and it's part of their policy. And again, really thinking more forward thinking companies are putting in as family assistance, and then it's offered automatically. Everybody gets it, and then everyone is authorized for our service. And that can be done any number of ways, but in an ideal world, everyone is sent to us, because what
Yeah.
happens is, obviously, everybody knows you need a realtor or, a mortgage if you're looking to buy a house. But not everybody is really aware of this service being an option for them. And so what happens a lot of times is, with the relocation counselors going through the litany of 30 different services that are, urgent and must have on their initial call, this one might not be at the top of the list where they're like, oh, I know the individual is saying, I know exactly what this is. Yes, sign me up for it. Maybe they'll say, oh, that sounds interesting. Let's come back to it. Well, guess what? Like, it doesn't get come back to. Or maybe
Right.
the employee is saying, no, I don't know if we need that. But the spouse might say, oh, heck yeah, we need that. So,
Yes.
so in an
Is
ideal
that
world,
is that an educational thing that you deal with the relocation management company, the corporation, or do you feel like you have to educate the actual spouse, like, hey, this benefit is for you and you need this because XYZ?
yeah, all of the above. So we're
Okay.
constantly training the RMCs. The challenge is, they're very busy getting in front of the
Sure.
teams. Turnover, plays into that. So sometimes there can be a few challenges with that, but we're always focused on training at the RMC level. But then, when we have the opportunity to speak with the spouse or the relocating employee, then we'll introduce the program. We'll ask about what they're excited about the move, what they're concerned about the move, children, job search, you name it. We'll just have a holistic, high level conversation, understand some areas where maybe they have some concerns, and then see, okay, well, if we were to be able to do, support the job search, or if we were to help you with some resources on how to talk to your kids, or if we were to help you think through about what's important in the kind of community that you're looking for, so that when you're talking to your realtor, then you're really prepared. Those are the kinds of things where we can add value. And then people are like, oh yeah, I'm all about it. And so sometimes people will say, after the service and the evaluation, they'll say, I wasn't so sure what I was going to be getting out of this, but this turned out to be the best part of the relocation. So often in the services in our industry, people are asking things from our transferees. I need you to pull these 10 documents together. I need you to do this. Go through your whole house and tag this. Our goal is, how can we take things off of your plate? And
Wow.
so what happens is, typically about 75% of people who are authorized to us will say, yes, sign me up. The other 25% we don't charge. So there's no fee to the RMC or to the corporation for that. Then we'll do ideally a direct bill to the RMC or corporation for the services. We will assign them a coach. If they have special needs kids, we'll assign them someone who has experience in working with families in that situation. If you're a high-level executive and looking for an executive level job, we're going to assign you a coach that is commensurate in that level. If there is, a teacher or a nurse, again, We can provide coaches that specialize in those types of industries. Or, nowadays it's a totally different world on the job side. Gig work, entrepreneurship, all of those things we have special programs for. We do one-on-one coaching and very much what we call one-to-me. It's a personalized experience, and that's absolutely what Jody would have received. We also have the opportunity for companies that are looking for, more budget conscious options. We're now introducing coaching programs that are tech driven, but have that personal connection through group coaching. And that is enabling a tremendous amount of versatility to provide high levels of service and connection with people, but at a more affordable level.
When you do group coaching, is that done by company or by geography? How does that work?
It would be based on topic. So if it's a job search topic, it would be focused on, hey, we're going to talk job search strategy. Come with your job search strategy questions today.
Nice.
And so we are scheduling those ongoingly, and same thing on the on the personal side. So we're gonna talk today about talking to your kids with moving, and so let's dig into those topics and brainstorm as a team, or have the experts share their best practices on certain kinds of questions.
We should really partner on that, Lauren, because I would love to host some job search. That's maybe just general job search group coaching, for people in our industry, because there's so many folks out there that have been impacted by layoffs, especially on the corporate side right now.
Yeah.
And they're
well, that I'd love to explore that. The other thing that I've thought of, you're hearing my stream of consciousness here.
that's all the show is.
But listening to some of the pain points, if you will, of heads of mobility, or people growing into more of a head of mobility role, thinking about some of the key skills that you need to develop, influencing skills, communication skills, personal brand, that's an area where I think there's some opportunity to bring some cohorts together to build some of those skills to help our industry, up level.
Yeah, you're totally right. There's the getting you in the door, and then, okay, now you have the job. Here's how you maneuver inside the organization. Here's how you influence. I mean, that seat at the table question was one that's kind of haunted our industry for a long time. I think maybe we're doing a little better. I think, honestly, the events of the last few years has really elevated the strategic importance of global mobility. When you talk about COVID crisis, you talk about closed borders, you talk about Brexit, you talk about, mobilizing people out of Ukraine. I mean, the stuff that we've done over the last 3 years, global mobility has been smack dab on the front page. That being said, there's still a lot of folks who, just due to the way the mobility has been promoted within the organization, who lack the influence and social capital and ability to navigate some
But
of
these
that
are all
stuff.
skills that can be built. And so
Yes,
it's,
100%.
and frankly, the traditional concept of training, let me go take a LinkedIn learning class on influence. That will get you about that far along in the process. There's a whole lot of trial and error and learning from others, learning from doing, and reflection in the process that we employ, as well as we support people through that process.
I love it. I'd love to brainstorm on that. It's such a need right now. We got people speaking Welsh over here. Come on, guys. I mean, listen, I'm just a dumb American. You can't be dropping Welsh on me in the comments, y'all. I don't even know what that means. I hope it's work safe. Richard over here sharing the story of moving to North Wales and it being a cultural challenge for him, for sure. This is really, really interesting, Lauren. I want to switch gears a little bit, though. Can we switch gears a little
Absolutely.
bit? I want to have some fun here and kind of play a little game. Amy's saying there are definite synergies between both of your companies to help one another. Synergies, good little buzzword there, Amy. I appreciate that. Let's play a game. Let's play a game we call overrated, underrated, Lauren.
Okay.
It's fairly intuitive. Are you familiar with this game and how to play?
I am.
All right. I'm going to give you a topic, and you are going to tell me if it is overrated or underrated, and I will tell you if you are correct.
Okay. I hope I pass.
I hope people understand that that's a joke. I shouldn't have to explain it, but I just want people to know that I'm not that arrogant. Okay. First one up. Knowing and building your personal brand, overrated or underrated?
That is underrated.
I would say that's correct. Yes, that is correct. Why is that, Lauren?
Personal brand is one of my personal favorite aspects of the job search. And frankly, it's because I think it's something that people dive straight into a resume or they dive straight into the job boards in a job search. And I think getting really, really clear on being excellent on articulating the value you bring to a company is going to help you go far and away in a job search, in an organization, like we were talking about climbing the ladder, extending your influence. If you're able to clearly articulate how you drive value in an organization, then it will be easy and obvious for other people to be able to understand that as well.
I love it. And I think that there's some mechanics to this that people don't understand. It's not just about, wearing a bow tie or,
Yeah.
having, the color green on all the time. Like there's more mechanics to it. And actually we had Adam Sotelo, our video production manager, on yesterday. And what I liked about what he said about constructing this personal brand, and I hadn't really heard it described this way before, but it was kind of like, okay, what you do professionally, what like an interest or hobby is, and like kind of what your purpose or kind of like more deeper kind of belief is or something. And he put it in a really good way. But it's like if you can bring all three of those things together, then it kind of like builds out a brand story or of yourself that people can latch onto.
Yeah. And I think of it also as, think about times in your career where you've just knocked it out of the park, to use an opening day American baseball analogy,
Yes.
where you've gotten accolades, you were just killing it. And where you've been in that zone of flow. Think about times when you've been rewarded, when you've gotten bonused, when you knew you were doing a great job. And what are some of those things that you love doing as well? And where can you find that synergy? And what was also going on in the business? How are you able to support certain key metrics, drive growth, cost savings, etc.? And then by being able to get really clear on what you want, who you are, and how you can help an organization, it's not about, hey, here's my resume. It's about telling a story.
Yes.
How you can help an organization. And then everything in the job search just flows from there. I think of having a great brand as the superpower of the job search, or a superpower of a strong career.
I love the story element. You have to have a narrative there. Yeah, so super cool, super cool. Next topic. Online job boards. Overrated, underrated?
Overrated.
Ooh, why is that?
Well, especially to my friend in the recruiting industry, I would say those are overrated.
Yeah.
But the data is clear. Networking is still the number one way people find jobs, even in the world of technology, even in the world of applying online. If all you're doing is sitting and applying online to jobs, you're missing where the magic happens. And chances are companies and actual eyes of people are not even seeing your resume.
You could not be more accurate here. We did a podcast, Danny Herskowitz, shout out to Danny if you're still watching. We did a podcast about this on our Get Talent podcast. Danny uncovered a statistic that 70% of jobs are never posted.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of jobs aren't posted, but even the ones that are like almost every company nowadays, even small companies, are using applicant tracking systems. So you
Oh,
apply online, and then some algorithm in machine is reviewing your resume. And if you don't fit the profile of what they're looking for, if you say VP instead of vice president, if the algorithm is written that way, you're not getting in.
Lauren, we literally had a first time interview today of a candidate. It was rejected by our client, meaning we took that candidate, they applied, they sent us their resume, whatever. They applied to the job themselves. They were rejected by the company. We took that resume, we screened them, we dusted it off, told the narrative, to your point, submitted it to the CEO, and they have an interview today.
There you go.
And they had been rejected already by the same company. And now that company is going to turn around and pay us a fee because their applicant tracking system rejected that candidate.
Oh my gosh, painful if I were the company. Good for you.
Yeah, no, it's great, but I mean, that's how bad these systems are. We over rely on these systems so much. Only 30% of the jobs are posted online. The applicant tracking systems were throwing out all the good candidates. Like, all the candidates are over applying to offset the fact they're over rejected. And it's just a cluster out there. The same jobs being posted multiple times. There was an article that just came out about companies are posting jobs that don't even exist, just to like kind of build their candidate pool a little bit. It's a total mess out there. And honestly, working with a professional like yourself, our company, whatever, I don't care who, pick somebody, work with somebody, because it's not.
Yeah,
You
and
can't
for the
just go on
record, we're
on
not a recruiter, so we don't do what you do, and probably your candidates could benefit from what
well, and we don't do what you do either, because we don't really coach candidates that we don't have jobs for or clear, fits for. So that's why I think it would be kind of cool if we kind of work together. But anyway, enough about us, or maybe not. Maybe that's the point. Anyway, all right. Next, skilled union journeyman jobs.
That is underrated. And so my opinion on that is that high schools these days are telling everybody, go to college, go to college, go to college.
Yes.
Not everybody needs to go to college. And you know what? There are great high paying jobs in industries that are dying for talent.
Yes.
And they're great jobs.
6-figure trucking jobs out there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You go own a plumbing company with 2 vans and see if you don't retire at 55.
Yeah, exactly. My husband is actually a Teamster on like who's off. He calls it his fallback career.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, but shame on us, right? Because I mean, somebody said, "Oh, my daughter's turning 18. Oh yeah, where's she going to college? Where's she going to school?" It's like, why are we automatically going that way, right? I mean, and now we have too many people looking for, well, I was going to say jobs in a cubicle, jobs at home, logging in to work remotely in a white collar job, and we don't have nearly enough people actually doing the work, creating the value out there. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with this. And I'm going to go a step further and say, when we look at immigration, we shouldn't just look at skilled immigration. We have to look at the people who are doing the work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that the type of work these days is changing, and you don't need a bachelor's degree for a lot of the work that we have a high demand for right now, whether that be RNs or lots of the people in in our industry, in tech, in marketing, etc.
Yeah, and I never thought about this before, but I mean, the cost of education raises wages too, because now these young people have to pay for their college education, and
Which is outrageously overpriced.
I know, it's just going up, and it's far outstripping wages. I mean, fortunately, wages over the last couple of years have gone up fortunately for labor force, but it has not, but gosh, college is just going crazy. Next, the LA Rams.
Totally overrated.
Why is that?
Well, they should have never left St. Louis in the first place.
That's what you get.
That's right. I had to throw that one in.
I love a salty fan. That's the mark of a true fan. Throwing shade. I love it. And you know what? Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. But I'll tell you what, SoFi looks nice. That new arena they have out there. Ooh, it's fancy. It's fancy.
Yes.
Who's your football team?
Well, I mean, we cheer for the Chiefs, so
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's
but
solid. I mean, it's not a
not,
bad.
don't really care enough to
It's not,
pay too much attention
it's not a bad
anymore.
backup. I think that wasn't there a St. Louis Cardinals football team too? Was that a
Yes,
thing back in the day?
yes.
Man,
Yes,
what's up? What's up with football teams just
we
leaving
keep
St. Louis?
NFL teams for 20 years and then they leave.
Yeah, okay. That might be you might want to double click into that one. Last one here. Supporting the family and relocation.
Underrated.
No, Pshaw. Tell me more.
Well, we've only spoken for an hour on the topic, so I think that there's a lot of a groundswell around understanding how important it is to be paying more attention to the family. And going back to what we were talking about originally, yes, this is a business decision. It's the move for the organization, it's business, but for your employee and for their family, it's personal.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's underrated here, I agree with you. I think the other thing that's underrated here is the impact of culture shock
Mhm.
on domestic transfers. We think
Yeah.
about culture shock for international. We think about the tax implications of international. We think about the COLA adjustment. We think about everything for international, and we just assume moving from Jersey to Missouri is figure outable. And
Yeah, well, and maybe it's not it's a different kind. Like you still have like a traditional kind of American mentality, but there's so many other things that are pretty significantly different just in terms of how things get done in an area. And people talk all the time about how challenging the cultural adjustment moving from one part of the country in the US is. The other thing I will mention along these lines is so many companies use international local hires as a way to save money. But when you're planning on making this person a permanent resident, they're there as in a permanent move capacity, then the importance of getting that family or that individual rooted in the culture, in the personal connections, helping with job search assistance for the spouse, all of those things are oftentimes left out of those local hire moves internationally, which I think is a big mistake and a nominal cost to make a big impact on the productivity, engagement, and retention of those individuals.
I love it. Well said. Let's leave it there because I think you summed it up beautifully. Lauren Herring, CEO, Impact Group. Thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thanks, Ben. Loved being here with you. Thanks for the conversation.
Of course.